There has to be some common sense.
Yes, sir. They have the car stopped in 10th and Ranch. Michael by there.
We still don't know who pulled the trigger.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, Bill Cannon, a retired 27-year veteran of the NYPD as a sergeant. And folks, today we have some updates. The press always describes the person wanted as a person of interest. This guy is an out-and-out suspect, and I think they need to call him a suspect because there's a lot of evidence pointing towards Frank R. James. They have this picture. You see the picture up on the screen. The screen. He's posted some disturbing videos. There's a lot of evidence recovered, including the 9mm handgun. There was some unexploded smoke bombs, the keys to the U-Haul van that they recovered, a credit card on the scene with his name on it. I mean, folks, not person of interest. This guy is an out-and-out suspect, and I think we need to call it that. Besides this case, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding this because the subways are a disaster right now, and every week we're seeing a heinous crime occur on the subway, where it's a slashing, a robbery, someone getting pushed on the train tracks. New Yorkers are not safe. They're not feeling safe, and this, in the advent of COVID, or COVID hopefully coming to an end, they're trying to get people to come back into the city. This is not ingratiating people with New York City and encouraging them to get back on the subway. This is making people even more and more nervous. Sana Elise Hoth Johnson, thank you for your 14 super sticker. I don't know what denomination that is, but thank you so much. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. If you're not subscribed to us, go on our YouTube, hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and ring that bell. And if you want to support us, we have a Patreon with 3 different levels. And we also have YouTube channel members who subscribe to us and also support us with 5 different levels. So, folks, this case has been very controversial. Look, this Mr. Frank R. James, the manhunt is on. They are looking for him. He is 100% a suspect. And his address is in Philadelphia and I believe Wisconsin. Now, the NYPD, the FBI, the ATF, every law enforcement agency in New York City is looking for this guy. And I think they need to call him a suspect so that when police go to apprehend him, they know he's a suspect and not a person of interest. I hate that term, but the press, and it seems like police departments insist on using it now too, more or less just to appease the press. I'm going to play a little bit of the update of the news in regards to this. And overnight, there's some great information. They gave an outstanding press conference yesterday, and they updated the public on everything that's going on in this case. So let me add this to the screen, and we're going to watch a little bit of this.
Overnight, police towed away the U-Haul van, believed to be connected to the person of interest in the investigation, 62-year-old Frank James. Police say James rented the van and the keys were found at the shooting scene, along with a credit card used to rent the U-Haul in Philadelphia.
If in fact the 3 things, the gun, the credit card, and the U-Haul are all linked to one person, you may well have this mass shooter.
The rampage unfolded during morning rush hour Tuesday. Witnesses say a subway passenger wearing a neon green construction helmet and vest put on a gas mask, set off 2 smoke bombs and opened fire.
I saw a lot of people coming out of the train station. One of them was injured. I believe it was a lady getting shot right on her leg. She was screaming, she was in a lot of pain.
Police say the attacker fired 33 shots with a semi-automatic handgun, wounding 10 people before the gun jammed, which they say likely saved people's lives.
We are truly fortunate that this was not significantly worse than it is.
Video showed passengers in a smoke-filled subway car pounding on a connecting door, trying to escape. As the train car pulled into the subway station, terrified passengers ran onto the platform and the gunman escaped. But police say a backpack was left behind, filled with loaded magazines, commercial-grade fireworks, and a hatchet. They also say they recovered a Glock handgun. At a hospital last night, New York Governor Kathy Hochul visited some of the victims, including Huari Benkada, who was among the first people shot.
You see like a black smoke bomb going off, and then people bum rushing to the back. This pregnant woman was in front of me. I was trying to help her. I didn't know there were shots at first. I just thought it was a black smoke bomb. She said, "I'm pregnant with a baby." I hugged her, and then the bum rush continued. I got pushed, and that's when I got shot on the back of my knee.
Meanwhile, investigators searching for James are not calling him a suspect in the shooting, only a person of interest. He had an active social media presence, posting numerous videos to his YouTube page.
I am driving because I started my trip early.
In one video, James talks about post-traumatic stress disorder, and he was also critical of the New York mayor's homeless policy.
He mentions homelessness, he mentions New York, and he does mention Mayor Adams. And as a result of that, in an abundance of caution, we're going to tighten the mayor's security detail.
And a member of James's family says he has not been in touch with them for decades.
So, folks, there you have it. And again, the media uses that term person of interest. No, he's a suspect. He's 100,000% a suspect, all right? With the type of evidence. Let's stop with the person of interest nonsense. He is a out-and-out suspect. You know, the politicization of this case, you know, with of course, you got the governor on the scene, and you got all these phonies that refuse to prosecute crime. But now they're talking tough. And all of a sudden the conversation becomes gun control. It's not gun control, it's perp control. Let's lock up people that commit crimes with firearms, all right? But they're reticent to do that. So we as the public have to let them know that we know their game. We know that they're just talking nonsense when they talk about, oh, we gotta track these guns. You know, no, it has to do with people using the guns. Let's stop with the gun, the inanimate object, and let's prosecute the folks that are using these guns to commit crimes. Yeah, I mean, folks, you can't imagine a more horrifying situation than being locked on a subway car as smoke is building up on all the cars, and you hear gunshots. If you're not on the very car with the gunman, you're hearing gunshots from the other car. Just totally just terrifying. You know, one of the things we also learned was one of the cameras, one of the most important cameras that perhaps could have caught an image of the subway gunman, let's call him that, as Mr. Frank James, the person of interest, the suspect. One of the most important cameras was not working. And I'm going to put the MTA CEO, I'm going to put a little bit of his interview this morning on CBS. And here's another guy, just passes the buck, takes no responsibility for anything. And he's a typical bureaucrat, you know. And I've known this guy to blame the police a lot of times. Listen, the subway, his name is Jano Lieber, and he happens to be the CEO of the MTA, probably making over $400,000 a year. But he wants to blame everyone else when something bad happens on the subway system. And this is his explanation to CBS News this morning as to how it happened that camera wasn't working. And I find this amazing. Just watch who he blames everyone else but himself. You know, unbelievable.
Material that the NYPD has circulated has a variety of different images of him. So all night long, we have 600 cameras on this one line in Brooklyn. 2,500 cameras, the length of the line. So the cops have been looking overnight at all of the stations, where he got on, where he might have gotten off. There's an enormous range of video. It's one of the things we've done to make the system safer. We went from 30% camera coverage of our 472 stations to 100% camera coverage So we got a lot of video for the cops to look at, and they're working.
But how do you explain that on this particular train, the cameras do not appear to be working? Was that just a fluke?
Yeah, I think that in the one location by the turnstile, there was apparently a server problem, which they had been working on the day before. But the bigger issue is there's so much video evidence from all of the stations on this line that there are images of this fellow that are going to be found.
We heard that the mayor said that they're now going to double the number of police on patrol, but would that have prevented this from happening, Jan? Don't you actually need officers on the train?
Good. It's a very good point, Gail. I've been asking for, since the prior mayoral administration, I've been asking for, can we get the cops? There are a lot of cops in the system, but we want them on the trains and on the platforms where New Yorkers feel vulnerable.
Like federal marshals on a plane.
Well, exactly. Where people feel, we know from surveying our riders, and we survey 100,000 riders every month or so, cops on platforms, cops on trains. That is what makes people feel safe. The mayor has committed to do that. That transition has already been underway since before this incident.
But if you have a random person doing a random thing, it's going to be hard to stop even if you do have police, which raises the question, did the MTA in any way know who this individual was, have him under monitoring, and have any idea this morning why he chose such a far-flung and seemingly random station?
Honestly, Tony, we don't have any history with this guy. The NYPD, he has a bunch of priors from what I understand. So he has some history with law enforcement in general, but we don't have any history with him at the MTA. And there was no reason we would have focused on him in particular.
Should New Yorkers feel safe taking the train today?
I think they were, as I said, when I got on the train with the governor, the train was full. New Yorkers really, we're in the never bet against New York business. It's the essence of who we are. Bounce back after 9/11. I spent a lot of years rebuilding the World Trade Center. People said they wouldn't move back to Lower Manhattan after 9/11. People said New York was dead after Superstorm Sandy, and on and on and on. New Yorkers just keep bouncing back, and the subway is the fabric of New York. Nobody's going to give up our public space that defines New York, that makes New York possible. That's what the subway is. The heroic MTA workers who powered those people out of the station to safety are also heroes. Good qualities of New York were on evidence yesterday as well.
I wish that guy would take a little responsibility. Yeah, the cameras didn't work. He comes, oh yes, they were working on them the day before. How many believe that? I don't believe that. This guy, I don't like the way he refers to the police as cops, but I won't take umbrage with it because he doesn't understand cop means constable on patrol, but I think he means it to be a disparaging term, calls them cops. Right? Do we call him chair, MTA chair? I just think it's a disparaging remark, and this guy really needs to be held accountable. We all know that the subway system is a disaster, and he's the chairman. So if it's the subway system is a disaster with homeless people all over the place, people jumping the turnstiles, robberies, guns, bias incidents, people being pushed on the tracks, and he's there smiling like, I worked so hard and the MTA heroes. Dude, I don't want to hear it. You need to be held accountable with your $400,000 a year salary. All right, enough on this guy. Let's get back to the suspect and who we have, Mr. Frank or James here. I'll put his picture up on the screen. And again, folks, Mr. James is not a person of interest. He's a suspect. He's a full-blown 100% suspect. And law enforcement, what are they doing? How are they going to find this guy? Where are they looking for him? How are they looking for him? All right. The first thing right here is his picture. His picture should be everywhere. All right. Media, all over the news, everywhere, every airport, every train station, wanted posters should be all over the place. But the investigation, how are we going to find this guy? All right. What was his past like? You heard the MTA chairman. I don't know why he's trying to get involved in the investigation. He has absolutely nothing to do with it. But yes, Mr. James has a criminal history. He also has a history outside New York. He rented this U-Haul van in Pennsylvania. I believe he's had an address in Wisconsin. I don't know what or if he has any work history. Is he receiving social service? Where is he using his debit card, his credit cards? Does he own any vehicles? He rented this U-Haul van in Pennsylvania, but does he own any vehicles that are registered in his name? family members. They got to dig deep to find his family members. Coach, defund the police, ended police on trains. You know, Coach, you reminded me of something that I wanted to talk about before. And Jakey5, his picture should be front page of every paper and on the Rolling News 24/7. Absolutely. One of the things I wanted to say about policing the subway, which is so important. Again, we need plain clothes officers in the subway. Plain clothes officers could have possibly spotted this guy by his behavior, by his gait, by the way he moved, by what he was carrying, and they could have maybe stopped this shooting, or at least stopped it or interrupted it. However, again, the politicians have no desire to stop crime. They want to come in after the fact and talk about things, political things like gun control, instead of let's fight the crime and let's arrest the people. Let's arrest the turnstile jumpers. I wonder if, I have a good question, and I would love to know this when they apprehend this guy. Did he pay his fare? I know it sounds silly to many of you, but that is one of the ways the police enforce against criminals on the subway. It's been proven a lot of the people that commit crime on the subway, they don't pay their fare. So what if we stop them when they jump the turnstile? Legitimate question. Legitimate, Ellie O'Quaint, I agree, uniform officers in a confined space is concerning these days. They always say, of course, let's protect the horse after the horse ran out of the barn. All right. They always say that. Now today they're putting more cops on the subway. Of course, that's political in nature also. I really like this police commissioner, Keechun Sewell. And I think she's an excellent speaker, and she comes across with an air of confidence. I wish she would be 100% the talking person in regards to this case and not the mayor. I don't know why the mayor insists. Yes, he's the mayor, but this is a police incident. You're not a cop anymore. And let's let the police commissioner do the talking on this. And let me share this part of the press conference yesterday. And she exudes confidence, and I think it's great for her and great for the city that she does so.
We are truly fortunate that this was not significantly worse than it is. As we reported this afternoon, a man who was traveling on a Manhattan-bound N train opened 2 canisters that dispensed smoke throughout the subway car. He then shot multiple passengers as the train pulled into the 36th Street station in Sunset Park. 10 people were injured by gunfire, and an additional 13 were either injured as they rushed to get out of the train station, or they suffered smoke inhalation. Some good news is that none of the injuries appear to be life-threatening. As detectives processed the crime scene, they recovered a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, extended magazines, and a hatchet. Also found is a liquid we believe to be gasoline, and a bag containing consumer-grade fireworks and a hobby fuse. About an hour ago, detectives located a U-Haul van in Brooklyn that we believe is connected to the suspect. At this time, we still do not know the suspect's motivation. Clearly, this individual boarded the train and was intent on violence. We are conducting a highly coordinated investigation that includes NYPD detectives, the FBI NYPD Joint Terrorism Task Force, and the ATF, who have been instrumental in tracing the firearm and ballistics. The suspect is a dark-skinned male and was wearing a neon orange vest and a gray-colored sweatshirt. We do have a person of interest in this investigation, but we need the public's assistance with additional information. We're asking anyone with information to call Crime Stoppers at 800-577-TIPS. We know this incident is of grave concern to New Yorkers. We cannot lose sight of victims in this city. We will use every resource we can to bring those to justice who continue to prey on the citizens of New York. I'll ask Chief James Essick to come in and give details of the investigation.
This is the chief of detectives.
Good evening, everybody. Today at 8:24 a.m., aboard a Manhattan-bound N train, 10 people were shot, 7 males, 3 females, and they were removed to area hospitals. An additional 13 people suffered injuries related to smoke inhalation, falling down, or a panic attack. The information I'm about to give you is preliminary and it's subject to change right now. As that N train was between stations 59th Street and the 36th Street stations, seated in the second car in the rear corner was a dark-skinned male. Various descriptions of his height are given. He is heavy set, wearing an orange-green nylon-type construction vest. He also had on a gray hoodie, a surgical mask, and a neon green construction helmet. As the train approached the 36th Street station, witnesses state the male opened up 2 smoke grenades, tossed them on the subway floor, brandishes a Glock 9mm handgun. He then fired that weapon at least 33 times, striking 10 people. The male then fled the scene, and detectives are actively trying to determine his whereabouts. Recovered at that scene was a Glock 17 9mm handgun, 3 extended Glock-type magazines. 1 was still in the weapon, 1 under a seat, and 1 in a backpack. We had 33 discharged shell casings, 15 bullets, 5 bullet fragments, 2 detonated smoke grenades, 2 non-detonated smoke grenades, a hatchet, a black garbage can, a black milk type style rolling cart, the gasoline, and a U-Haul key. The U-Haul key at the scene led us to the recovery of a U-Haul van a short while ago in Brooklyn. The male, who we believe is the renter of this U-Haul in Philadelphia, is a Frank R. James, male, 62 years old, with addresses in Wisconsin and Philadelphia. We are endeavoring to locate him to determine his connection to the subway shooting, if any. The 2 crime scenes, the subway and the van, are very active and are still being processed. We are asking for anyone's help with information, cell phone video, witness information, or if they can identify the perpetrator or the renter of this vehicle, to call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-577-TIPS. There is a $50,000 reward out right now. $25,000 from the New York City Police Foundation, $12,500 from the MTA, and $12,500 from the TWA Local 100. I just want to assure everyone that we in the NYPD have all our resources working this, along with our partners in the FBI and the ATF, to find this perpetrator.
Excellent job by the chief of detectives, the police commissioner. They got all the information out there. Very, very important, very succinct. I don't think they missed anything. I think the police commissioner, as well as the chief of detectives, James Essick, they exude confidence. Because they exude confidence, we have confidence in them. And I have no doubt they're going to catch this guy. Think of the evidence that he left behind, the 9mm handgun, all right? 3 high-capacity magazines. The handgun potentially could have fingerprints on it, but more importantly, maybe DNA. Same thing for those high-capacity magazines. You can bet that forensically, they're trying to track all of this information, all of the evidence that he left behind. He left behind a credit card. You can't get better than that. He left behind a credit card with his name on it, obviously, all right? We can track that as to usage. They already tracked it to Philadelphia, that it was used to rent this U-Haul. A hatchet. What was this guy's, Mr. James, what was his intentions? He had a hatchet. On the screen there, you have a picture of the U-Haul van that he rented. Picture on the screen of some of the chaos in the subway. 10 people shot, 5 were critical. and I believe 21 received medical attention. So just a horrendous situation. But let's get back to the investigation, and I think we should keep this investigation in the hands of law enforcement. You know, when you hear the governor get up there, I don't want to hear Governor Hochul talk about the investigation. What does she know? And then, of course, Adams, who's at home with COVID. Let the police handle this, Mayor Adams. I know you were once a cop, or I thought you were. All right, so let's let the police commissioner, the chief of detectives, and all the detectives, the ATF, the FBI, let's let them work on the investigation. They'll deliver this guy to us. I guarantee it. Guarantee they'll deliver this guy to us. But what was his intentions? And they said he indicated he left some gasoline behind, as well as, I believe it was 2 or 3 unexploded smoke bombs. This was a serious attack. And the fact that the gun jammed probably saved a lot of people's lives. He had no intention of stopping shooting. He was going to continue to shoot. And they believe that the gun jammed. So crazy. LM2 has plenty of social media out there, multiple rants and channels. Yes, the suspect, Mr. Frank R. James, has a lot of social media out there where he's ranting about different things. So they have that. They also, they can track you also through social media. So when we talk about the investigation, again, we think of family members. Does Mr. James have family members? Apparently, they've interviewed some of his neighbors. Edward Martin hatchet could have been used to get off the subway, break doors, etc., or to hit people with. That's what I first thought. I wasn't thinking about opening the doors of the subway. Part of the investigation also, and it was in the, when you heard the MTA chair who never met an excuse he didn't like to cover his own butt. He was talking about the other video that worked, that belonged to the MTA. Yes, the investigators are looking. Where did he enter the system? Where did he exit? He must have exited the system when the train, when the shooting occurred and it pulled into that station. The MTA and some people were criticized for letting the other train leave the station, when in fact that was the exact right thing to do, to allow that train to leave the station. But you get these amateur sleuths that want to put their 2 cents in. That was the exact right thing to do, to get people the hell out of that station. And they were saying, oh, could have got the perp out. Yeah, I would think that the perp, Mr. Frank R. James, the suspect, whatever we want to call him, person of interest, which I hate that term, he probably fled on foot outside that subway. So the subway camera that wasn't working probably would have caught him. I got Phil Grimaldi joining us here. He's wiping the sleepy dust out of his eyes, and here he is. So, Phil, we were just going over some of the new information we have. Of course, the term that you and I always hate, the person of interest. He is 100% the suspect. He is not the person of interest. And I know the media loves that term. Even the police department starts to use it, the person of interest. But there's so much evidence against this guy. He is 100% a suspect. Want to comment on that?
Yes, absolutely, Billy. I've been listening to some of what you were saying earlier, and yes, it's obvious he's a suspect. I received from different colleagues several videos of this guy, and he goes on racist rants, anti-Semitic rants. He's obviously got mental issues. It seems like he was hell-bent on committing mayhem. Why he had it with New York City, he must have a connection to New York. I think you brought up some great points about where he entered the subway system is going to be key to a lot of it. They can trace back the steps where the vehicle was parked with video cameras and video surveillance. So what brought him to Brooklyn, New York? What brought him to that station to get on there? What brought him to want to attack the New York City subway system and cause mayhem and terror? I don't think it was targeted towards any specific race or gender. It seemed like he was arbitrarily shooting. There was some talk yesterday that he was possibly targeting the Asian community. I don't know if that's true. It did seem, I did see some one or two of the victims appeared to be Asian. So we got to look further and deeper into this guy's past. Obviously, his social media postings is going to be very, very important. Perhaps he said something in there that could indicate what his connection to the New York area is. And I'm sure they're talking to his family members or friends and doing a very deep dive into his social media. It sounds like there was a panic moment by him that he left all of the stuff that you talked about. When the gun jammed, he was probably in control. When he was firing those shots and he let off those smoke bombs, he was taking control of that subway car. When the gun jammed, now it appeared that he didn't have control anymore. Perhaps maybe some of the people were, he, in his mind, he thought we're going to attack him now in response to his attack. So he ran out of there. He left a ton of evidence behind, as you stated. And I don't want to say too much about, whether or not he paid the subway fare, because that could lead to his capture. But yeah, that's another important thing. A lot of times with regard to subway crime, very rarely do people who enter the subway system to commit crime, do they pay their fare, or even if they're entering the subway system to go another location to commit a crime, very rarely do they pay their fare. So that's a great point. And you also brought up the points about the plainclothes units, and we'll talk about that.
Let me play a little bit of this. This is CBS News.
James, and part of a wider investigation into the attack, leaving 23 people injured yesterday. James has not been formally identified as a suspect, but police are looking for him in connection to the shooting nonetheless. The gunman, whoever he is, started shooting on a subway train in western Brooklyn, a train filled with people on their way to work. 10 of the injured people were shot, struck by bullets. Police say that if the shooter's gun had not jammed, this could have been a far worse situation. Multiple clips were found at the scene. Mola Lenghi is at the scene in Brooklyn, where police are describing the one man in this case that they're looking for. A very distinctive outfit he showed up in. Mola, good morning.
Well, good morning, Tony. As you mentioned, no suspect has been named. James right now is a person of interest in this investigation. I believe he rented this U-Haul truck found yesterday after its keys.
Phil, when I hear that, there's like a treasure trove of evidence. So much evidence. And stop calling he's a suspect. This guy is a suspect. Stop saying he's a person of interest. He is a damn suspect, and he will be arrested on site. So stop it.
It's enraging, Billy. It's enraging, but yeah, all right.
Were discovered at the scene at the Brooklyn subway station where the attack happened. Also, a video apparently posted by James on Monday showing him talking about killing people and wanting to watch people die.
At about 8:30 a.m. Tuesday, panicked passengers on a Manhattan-bound train fled for their lives after a gunman set off a smoke bomb, then fired more than 30 rounds into the crowd.
Phil, this is horrifying. Here are these people trapped on a subway car. They could see the smoke coming out of the other car, and they hear the gunfire. I don't think there's anything more horrifying, just totally horrifying. New York City, NYPD, protect these people. Stop with this political nonsense. Put plainclothes transit officers on these trains. They would have spotted this guy, but the politicians refuse to protect the public. Keishant Sewell, the police commissioner, she is the first one I hear saying, I'm tired of the victims. You never hear a politician say that. They're more concerned with the perps.
That's right, 100%, Billy. And you want to talk about post-traumatic stress. There's a clear example. Anybody who was in that train car or in the neighboring train cars, those people went through a traumatic event, and it's going to stay with them 100%.
I get off the train, and the first thing I smell, the smoke that hit me in the face was not normal train smoke. This is like something's burning. It's thick, it's heavy, and people just start running towards me in fear.
Sam Carcamo arrived at the 36th Street station on a different train, saw the commotion, and started filming.
Women are screaming, people are screaming, someone's saying something about guns, people are like covered in blood as they're running towards us.
Passengers were seen dragging each other to safety or performing first aid, while others fled to the street above.
And coming up the stairs, I saw maybe a 16-year-old that was shot in the knee.
It was just a scary moment. Everyone was packed together, and I didn't know what happened until after.
Investigators recovered a tote bag that included a hatchet, 2 gas canisters, and a 9mm handgun that apparently jammed during the attack, along with 3 extended magazines and discharged shell casings. Witnesses described the shooter as a dark-skinned man in an orange worker's vest who put on a gas mask before opening fire.
We are truly fortunate that this was not significantly worse than it is. Some good news is that none of the injuries appear to be life-threatening. We will use every resource we can to bring those to justice who continue to prey on the citizens of New York.
Police have announced up to a $50,000 reward for information in this shooting. And this morning,
You know, she's great. The police commissioner is fantastic. And,
thumbs up for her.
you know, I just, please, citizens of New York City, do not let the politicians steal this incident for their own political purposes. This is about New Yorkers. This is about the safety of New Yorkers. Do demand safety on the subway. This MTA chairman, I just cannot have more disdain for an individual, for a guy who frequently is always pointing fingers at the police with his $400,000 a year salary, referring to this the cops. And I know he said it in a disparaging way. I don't think he knows a cop means constable on patrol, but I just didn't like his whole act. And he was right away. He had all the answers for why the subway cameras didn't work. Oh, we just checked them the day before. Oh, really? Do you believe that, Phil? They were just working on them the day before?
There's more to that than meets the eye. I think they said that those were the only cameras in the whole subway system that weren't functional on that day. I doubt that very highly. I myself, I have a camera system at home. I have two other backup systems. I have a Ring doorbell, and then I have a backup system with a couple of other cameras. Now, that's me personally. I know the subway system is vast, but they should have had, different systems. If you work on two different systems, one breaks down, you have the other one as a backup. You have your main system and maybe some type of a backup. I don't know what the reason is that those cameras weren't working. They said it was some type of a technical glitch, that they were actually operational, but they weren't sending the images to where they would be recorded. So whatever it was needs to be repaired. You're right about the way his tone, the chairman of the MTA, he referred to cops. It sounded, instead of referring to the police department, the NYPD, as colleagues or as partners in the city, it did sound a little disparaging. I agree with you on that. In 1982, I was hired as a transit police officer, and I rolled over to the NYPD in 1983. So I did have a working knowledge of the subway system. I actually worked in the transit district that covered these stations where this took place, so I'm familiar with them. And the training that you learn, as a transit cop, you get a lot of training regarding the system itself, and those train doors being locked. They weren't locked in years past. You were able to travel from one car to the other. However, in the years following, they lock those doors now because different people would go in between cars to jump off the train if they missed their stop, or different things like that, and urinating and things.
Yeah, but Phil, it was also that robbers used to patrol the trains and go through different cars to rob people. And that's another reason they didn't want them to do that. So they made it illegal to do that while the train was moving.
Yeah. There's numerous reasons why they prevented that. However, when you think about it, those people were trapped like rats, as they say. They were trapped in that car. There was no escape. And the good thing is two things. One, obviously, that is gun jammed. Two, that nobody pulled the emergency cord, because if that train had been pulled, if the emergency cord had been pulled, and the train does stop when that cord gets pulled, if it was in the middle of two stations in a tunnel, God only knows what chaos, what could have erupted from that point. So between the smoke and, him maybe unjamming the gun, and really could have been much worse. The police commissioner did a tremendous display of leadership on this incident. I agree with you on that, Billy. And after this comment, we'll talk a little bit about the plainclothes units that were working the transit system prior to the last couple of years of.
Well, Phil, I want to get to the investigation, because that's the most important thing. Obviously, there's a ton of evidence left on the scene. I don't think they have any doubt that they have the right guy.
Oh,
they made the connection from the keys to the van, from the credit card to the man, from the smoke bombs. I'm sure they have forensic evidence. They've collected all the forensic evidence from that U-Haul van. He's been identified. He is 1,000% a suspect and not a person of interest. He's arrest on site. I will guarantee that. Now, how do we find him, Phil?
Well, I think that surveillance cameras in and around the area where he exited the subway system. I just saw on the news a little while ago. They do have an image of him exiting the subway system, so they'd be going along from there. I mean, there's obviously other avenues that they'll be looking at, but I would be most curious about where he exits. Now he exits along 4th Avenue. From the train station where it pulled into at 25th Street. That's where I believe he exits. It's either 36th Street or 25th Street along 4th Avenue in Brooklyn. Now, either of those locations is a heavily traveled business district. There are plenty of security cameras on those businesses. There are also numerous traffic cameras along that way. So that's going to give us an indication of where he traveled to. Now, I don't think he had a plan in effect. He probably wanted to get back to where he parked the U-Haul on Kings Highway. However, when things went awry and the gun jammed, he aborted his plan, whatever it was, and he exited the subway system. So they're going to be looking along those lines. Now, if he has a cell phone, which he probably does, it looked like he did videos on his way to New York with a cell phone. So they're going to be tracking that. They're going to be looking into social media. If he makes any
Phil, talk about how did they get his number? How do they know what his cell phone number is?
Well, they're going to be addressing the different cell phone carriers. They'll probably try to find out from his social media postings. They'll connect to his web ID address. And a lot of times, if you have social media postings on your web ID, sometimes there's a cell phone number. If with your email, there's cell phone number connected. There's your web address, your IP address has a cell phone number connected to it. Sometimes, not always. So they're going to be doing those type of things, and that's going to be another thing. Obviously, they're going to look into what his connection to Brooklyn, New York is, or New York in general. What caused him to be at that location where he parked the vehicle? Did he have, any connection to Brooklyn, New York? His credit card. Now, we talked about there's a possibility. Someone told me that he ate at a restaurant in the area. He may have purchased food. So they'll be going to those places to look for cell phone video camera information to see if he was with anyone.
Phil, you know what I also thought of? And I believe this guy is mentally ill. Let's find out who his doctor is. When was the last time he sees that? What type of medication is he on? Where does he get his medication from? Does he have a drug card that he uses to purchase his medication? All these things can be tracked. Friends, does this guy have any friends? Obviously, he does not look like a healthy guy to me. He appears to be obese, just judging by the size of his head. He's 62 years old. Yeah, here I'm a head expert, but just judging by he doesn't seem to be a healthy man. So he must be under a doctor's care either for physical or mental ailments. We got to dig into all of that stuff. Again, where he entered, where he exited the subway, very important. Where did he go after that? We got to find this out, and you hit on it, tracking his cell phone, public transportation. His picture's got to be all over the place. Does he have the wherewithal? Does he have the finances? Is he getting social services? Is he getting money? Where is he getting his money? Well, I know they put it right on your card. Where's he using his card? Once he uses his card, say he has a card that he charges his groceries with, makes purchases with. That has to be tracked, all of that stuff. I would expect him to be, this to be a quick arrest on this guy, but you never know. Sometimes it can run into roadblocks. Someone mentioned in the chat, is he a candidate for committing suicide? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, he made mention in some of his postings about how he's entering the dark zone, and it sounds like he's spiraling out of control, and maybe he stopped taking his medication. I think that's a great point that you brought up, Billy. If he's under the doctor's care, his medications sometimes can send you further into a depression or further into a psychotic episode. So again, maybe he started a new medication and it was making him go towards this psychotic episode, or maybe he stopped taking medication. It sounds like he had a chip on his shoulder. He mentions about homelessness and different things like that. So, and I think he actually blamed Mayor Eric Adams for some of the homeless problems across the nation. So he's obviously, delusional about some of the things he's saying. Like I said, anti-Semitic, very racist comments he's made. So, he needs to be captured. I'm feeling the same way as you, Bill. I think this is going to be a quick apprehension. I don't think he's going to have many avenues to be protected or hide in the city. And it sounds like I said his plan went awry. He aborted his mission. He left all that stuff behind. Does he have other credit cards? He didn't take the key to the vehicle that he was traveling in. So how is he going to exit New York City and maybe go back to either Philadelphia or Wisconsin where he has addresses? So all of those things are being looked at, I'm sure. It's possible he could have hightailed it right to the Port Authority and gotten on a bus. It's very, very possible, but I would think that police would have that information by now. So it's not going to
Phil,
be
I think one of the things we have to be concerned with is temporary residences. For example, flea bag hotels, or any type of hotel.
Homeless shelter. He's
Homeless
familiar with the
shelters,
homeless
all of those
system.
things.
He might go right to a homeless
That's
shelter.
one of the reasons his picture's got to be all over the place. Folks, I wasn't trying to be funny when I said he appears to be obese, judging from his bless you, judging from his picture. But is he? I mean, you can tell someone if they're overweight usually by the size of their head. And I was not trying to be funny, but you can see in this picture, I would say he's well over 200 pounds, just judging by this picture without seeing his whole body.
Yeah, you make a good point, Billy. I saw some other videos of him. He's obviously he's not slender. He's a husky build, and all of these different signals that he's sending out in his videos. You can clearly get a profile of someone that's off. That's someone that's obviously mentally ill, and unfortunately, he took his psychotic behavior to New York City, to Brooklyn, to the subway system, and he caused terror, panic. And but I got to say this, it was like the true New York spirit came out yesterday. People stopped what they were doing. They tried to help. They didn't run and leave people bleeding to death in the subway system. They stopped. They helped, and they were still uncertain and unsure of what was even going on. That there could have still been a high possibility of danger. But yet, New York they did what they did on 9/11. They did what they did with true New York spirits. That they helped other New Yorkers who were injured. And I think that's a testament to the people that we have in this city and the people across the country. I mean, we have that kind of spirit throughout our great United States. And that's something that we should never forget. Good is going to overcome evil in this city. I've said it before. We've had a couple of years of terrible, terrible policies, high crime rates. I think we're at the breaking point, and you can hear the words in the police commissioner's mouth and the chief of detectives, who I'm so happy that we have those two people leading the police department right now, and even the chief of department, Corey. We have really good people in place. We have a situation where crime is really, really out of control. The police have been with their hands tied for long enough. We're going to get this guy. It's just a matter of time. We have great leaders in the police department. Again, Mayor Adams, don't go political on us. There's a time for political talk. It's not now. That's days down the line after this scumbag has been caught. Then you could talk about politics all you want, and they want to right away attack the Second Amendment. It wasn't the Second Amendment that caused this problem. It was someone who was off and got their hands on a gun. And unfortunately, let's attack illegal guns. Look at all the other shootings. There was a parallel shooting at the same time that this shooting went down, where 6 people were shot in another area of New York City. It's not getting any press, but these things are happening every day. Illegal guns. Let's go after that. Let's talk about that. Forget all this other stuff.
Edward Martin, he may be harbored by an old friend or associate of his in New York City. Very possible. Curtis Lee was on the news. He told the truth and blamed it on the mayor for not funding the police. I don't think the mayor was the one who defunded the police. I think it was the previous administration, de Blasio, and a lot of these woke people up in Albany. The people up in Albany and the New York City Council deserve all the credit for this. All the credit, all the blame, I really mean, for not doing the right thing, for not funding the police, to come across with the bail reform, the carceral policies. All of this is intertwined with the crime uptick we're seeing in New York City, and especially in the subway system. And when you see bureaucrats like the guy, the MTA head, who takes no responsibility for anything, and we were just fixing the camera yesterday. Dude, please. I was born at night, but not last night, and again, and they say, the cops have all kinds of video. Well, how do you know it's from the MTA? Maybe it's from people's cell phones. And that's how he got identified through multiple things. The keys to that U-Haul that identified who rented it. And that was left on the scene. And then they could put together a police photo. I'm sure he's been arrested before. He's got a criminal history. They pull up his mugshot. They can do photo arrays to the victims. So again, I'm sure they've done photo arrays already to at least one victim, and he's ID'd. He's a suspect. He's ready to go. Probable cause. He's ready to be arrested.
Listen, the bureaucratic city agency known as the MTA, there's tremendous amounts of wasteful spending. If you want to look at history of the MTA, and there's a very good system in place in the New York City transit system. It could have a lot better improvements done. And I just find it a little hard to believe, like you stated earlier, that was the only camera in the whole system, the whole New York City subway system that wasn't working. I think that's doubtful.
Bill, I read that on any day, 33% of the cameras are down.
Yes.
So, and then this guy's saying, oh, it was just, we don't know why. Rodney Dangerfield, like, are you kidding me, dude?
Listen, there's times when my own home system, one or two of the cameras might go out. You reset it, they go right back on. It's really like a flick of the switch. You unplug it, you plug it back in, it reboots, and then it goes back on. And that doesn't happen every day. That happens here and there. So I don't know what the glitch was in their particular video system, but yeah, it's unacceptable. The money that goes into the MTA and the amount of technology that there is today, there should be a backup system too as well. So those things maybe could be looked at going forward.
I just want to play a little bit more of this.
10,000 in the system, way up from where it was a couple of years ago. So we have a lot of video. The cops have been, the NYPD, obviously great investigators doing a great job combing through that overnight. We have video now of 3 angles of this fellow who is the person of interest entering the system. Obviously with a lot of material which the cops have reported on.
The cops
a lot of video, a lot of evidence of where he came in and what he looks like, what he was carrying.
Do you have any sense from that video of how he got away? Obviously there was chaos, which explains a lot of it. Did you see him escaping?
No. And again, as I say, 600 cameras just in Brooklyn on those 2 lines that were on that platform. So a lot of evidence to sift through. But I think amazing work by the NYPD. They know who this fellow is. He has a ton of priors. They know his social media. They are very much on the job to find this guy and bring him to justice.
We all were talking in the break. We all at this table rode the subway yesterday and last night. It was shoulder to shoulder. It was packed. There was a sense of kind of looking out for each other, helping each other. The spirit of New York was on display in that moment, as well as civilians snapped into action.
I thank you so much for mentioning it, Willie. I mean, obviously this is
all right. I don't want to hear any more of his politicalization of the subway system.
I'm getting a text that they just arrested him. I don't know if that's true. That I got that like 7 minutes ago. Maybe I'll check on the internet.
Fantastic if that's true.
Let's see. Give me a second, Billy. I'll see.
Sure. So, folks, you're hearing this is unconfirmed report that potentially the suspect in this, Frank R. James, may have just been arrested. If this is in fact true, there's a picture of him up on the screen. Phil's receiving information that he potentially could have just got arrested. We all expected a quick arrest in this case. Whether this is in fact true, we're going to try to verify that while we're still on the air. If not, we'll try to come on again later on. And if this is true, this is a fantastic development. Again, this is like within, you watch the show, The First 48. This is within the first 48 hours. If they completed this investigation and this fella is under arrest, Frank R. James, who again is not a person of interest, but a suspect. And we're going to find out if in fact this is true. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. Thank you guys so much for listening, for supporting us. Again, if you're not subscribed to us, go on our YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell, and you can support us on Patreon or be a member of our Police Off the Cuff family on YouTube. You can see the folks have the green font. Frank Marsha, please, Bill, don't insult Rodney Dangerfield. He was a lot smarter than the head of the MTA, just my opinion. Thank you, Frank. Sometimes I just say what comes to my mind, and I didn't mean to impinge on the reputation of Rodney Dangerfield. But So we're waiting to see if Phil comes up with, if any of you guys have heard if there's any live news information that they made an arrest in this case. We'd like to know that while we're still on the air. Edward Martin, if they got him, he was close by on the streets. He did not get that far. Yeah, I mean, this guy doesn't seem to me like a runner. He doesn't seem like he's in good enough shape to run away. So, Big Head Frank arrested. Please be true. We don't know if it's true yet. Larry Bennett, I got a message. He was caught this morning. They were looking for possibly another person. So we don't have any confirmation on that yet, though. And when we get confirmation, we'll surely share it with you guys. Let's see. Send the NYPD to Hawkins County, Tennessee. Yeah, for the Summer Wells case. Sana Elise Hoth Johnson, thank you so much for supporting us. Falconetti, I don't know if you're confirming that he's arrested. We don't have information that he was. Gayla Dennison, blessings to the NYPD. Stay safe out there. Absolutely. Somting Wang, I wonder if the fugitive has a brother named Jesse. Very good joke. Frank and Jesse James, right? Yeah, very good. But Heidi Zip, good to see you. Shelly Jakes, Mayor Adams is not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Absolutely not. Joanne Mangieri, that's one of the reasons I love watching you, because you say what's on your mind. Yeah, within reason. I love labs. Alicia B, I don't always get to chat because I don't want to go into that right now. But Heidi Zip, I'm going to Google. We'll find out if there has been an arrest in this. Rumors around the NYPD say he is arrested. We don't have any official confirmation, guys, so I can't really put anything out there that's not official. But as soon as we find out that he has been arrested, here's Phil. Phil, you got any information for us?
It sounds like Facebook postings from law enforcement sources, but I don't think it's confirmed just yet. It's possible. There's nothing on the news lines. I checked all the major networks. I don't see anything. But again, it's coming from a Facebook posting. It's coming from someone who's not active. So it's questionable whether or not it's legitimate. But I guess we'll find out very shortly. If he's arrested, I would think it would be hitting the news fairly soon. So
I would think so, but I'm not going to post anything until we can confirm it. Police off the cuff, MMM. Police 12 minutes ago, still manhunt going on for the suspect.
Yeah. So I think it's possible, but there's a lot of rumors. This is still very fluid situation, so I'm not going to say 100% that yes, he's been apprehended, but there is a couple of postings on Facebook, so it's not confirmed, 100% not confirmed. So let's see if it does come across on any of the news wires, we'll get that, but it doesn't look like it.
All right, so Kim Allison, I'm sorry. Let me see. Guys are making a couple of Fuzzy Doxy. It could be a manhunt for another associates person too. Yeah, but we're not going to report someone was arrested if we can't confirm it. Based on a Facebook post, we're not going to confirm that. So Phil, I think we're going to end this broadcast and just we'll come back on if there is an arrest. If there's breaking news, we'll come back on. But Phil, final words.
Final words. The true New York spirit came out yesterday. The people who were injured were not left to lay in the subway system bleeding. They received help from other New Yorkers. I think that says a lot about their spirit. As I said earlier, this guy, the walls are closing in on him. He'll be apprehended shortly, I'm sure, sooner rather than later. Hopefully he doesn't cause any more mayhem. God bless all of those people who were victimized yesterday. And I just really feel for all the people that were traumatized by the whole situation. And let's just keep the good work going of the NYPD, the ATF, the FBI, and forget the politics. Let's move forward with making the city safe again.
Hallelujah. Folks, from Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories, thank you so much for listening. God bless. If there's any further movement in this case, we'll come back on with a live report. Thanks for listening.
Stay safe, everyone.
One episode just ain't enough.